Hi there, and welcome to Relationship Marketing on Fire.
Hey, this is Lonnie Voivod, your ally in possibility at Epiphanies, Inc.
And this is Alan Voivod, another of your allies in possibility at Epiphanies, Inc.
And we are covering everything you need to know about igniting sales, loyalty, and customer service in the social realm.
Now, versions of this presentation have been given for the Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce. And,
here in New Hampshire.
Yes, and in partnership with Constant Contact, and also across the border for the Vermont-New Hampshire Marketing Group's annual conference. And we are here to spread it to the whole wide world. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and we're going to dive right in.
Yeah, if you are a leader of a mission-driven organization, if you're a small business owner, if you're a scrappy entrepreneur, if you are part of a Fortune 500 team that's just looking how to new, fresh ways on how to connect with your people, your audience, your clients and customers, you're going to want to tune in, pay attention.
Have that notebook and pen ready.
That's true. Here we go.
We're going to talk about monitoring relevant chatter, about engaging with authenticity, and ultimately building online relationships. And there's a great three-word mantra that we are working through with this, and that is listen, learn, connect. Lonnie, say it with me. Ready?
Listen, learn, connect.
And I hope you were saying it with us back at the office. But what we want to frame this with is reminding you that relationship marketing is all about business, about people doing business with people. And that's from Mari Smith, who wrote the book on relationship marketing. It's always been about relationships, right? It's always been about people doing business with people, even before social media began.
Yeah, we love Mari. She is an excellent example of how to show up being heart-led. And look at her, when we were looking to grab her Twitter photo for this, her pinned tweet is, the greatest motivational act one person can do for another is to listen. So she really approaches listening as the hallmark of how she pursues her business.
Exactly. And we've been in a mastermind community or working with her in one way or another since 2009. And another thing that she's not afraid to do, like us, is have fun at every opportunity, and that's what we hope to bring to this webinar. Hopefully this will be a little more fun than your average webinar too.
We're hoping.
The other thing we wanted to share with you about framing is the idea that social media is about sociology and psychology more than technology. This ties in really well to the thing about it being about relationship marketing, about people doing business with people. Sure, the technology is something that you have to master or have somebody learn to master to be able to use it, but ultimately, you're still talking to people through Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all these other channels and platforms. And that requires you to be a student of people, to be a student of sociology and psychology.
A lot of people get tripped up by these communication platforms, by these channels, thinking that they are something separate part of their marketing, separate part of their communication calendar. And they're not. They're not. They are exactly ways to get to the heart and source and to create meaning and develop meaningful relationships with one human to another.
Right.
And to amplify. They're great amplifiers. Alan.
They are too. They are. So this all starts with a brand. And what you're seeing here is what a gentleman named Simon Sinek likes to refer to as the golden circle. So on the outside, you have the what. And in any business, most if not everyone in the business knows what you do. Like we produce finger puppets, right? In the second circle, the how, that's a smaller circle of people in your organization who know actually how it's done. Like what kinds of sewing material and where is it getting outsourced to and all the factory type stuff. Smaller subgroup of people. But very few people, if any, in the organization, and a lot of organizations, understand the why. Why are finger puppets important? Why is this worth getting out of bed in the morning? I'm picking finger puppets as an example, but insert your own business, insert your own why. Why is it that you get out of bed in the morning to do what you do for your business or your organization every single day? What is it that you love? And do the people in your organization also know what that why is, and do they share it?
The example that Simon uses in his TED Talk that has, 17 million views? Is that right?
I forget, but I have a feeling we're going to know in a second.
So he talks about brands like Apple, that instead of talking about the what of developing computers and iPads and iPhones and iPods, et cetera, and to compete on that level instead of talking about the how, which is, you know, their relationships with technology developers around the world and manufacturers, that their why is innovation. Their why is thinking different, to think different. Their why is to change the world and make it better. These are much bigger, more beautiful, accessible, emotionally driven principles that ultimately attract or make you attractive to the right kind of people, because you're hooking in with the inside of your core and not your brain.
Right, exactly. It's with emotion. And then you're not commoditizing yourself. You're not just one other person who makes cell phones or one other person who makes tablets. You're actually connecting powerfully with people who identify with what you believe in, and that's going to make them more loyal to you in the long run.
Simon also mentioned Martin Luther King, and how Martin Luther King talked about having a dream and what that dream looked like. So that's his why, rather than I have a 12-point plan, and here are these steps to incorporate this 12-point plan, which often inspires narcolepsy in most people.
Right. And he also talks about the Wright brothers in this talk, how great leaders inspire action, and about how there were so many other people who were trying to be the first people to achieve manned flight, and that other competitors were actually being funded by the U.S. government and national science institutes, and that it's because their why of why they were getting up was not as powerful as Orville and Wilbur Wright's why. They were motivated by the sheer love and desire of what they were doing, and not just by the money. And Lonnie, you were right. Look at that, 17 million views so far.
So not bad.
You
it was a total guess, Alan. and to be brave and bold enough to try to revisit Alan's awesome finger puppet analogy. The why on a finger puppet, like he said, instead of talking about the fabric, or instead of talking about what kind of finger puppets you make, maybe you talk about bringing joy to the world, joy on your fingertips, bringing laughter to children, to adults everywhere. That's a big, beautiful why that, when connected with the right people, the right audience, will do its job well.
Bravely done.
I wish we had a finger puppet slide. Okay.
All right, so the first of our trio in the mantra is listen. Listening, have your ears ringing with the voices of the people, your audience, your customers. And how you do that is monitoring relevant chatter, finding the conversations that enhance your brand, your reputation, and your know, like, and trust factor, because that is what it's all about. These days, it's about people being able to trust you and to hear you out of that voice in the crowd, being able to love you so much that their ears are actually pricked up for you when you're talking. So the two things that you're primarily listening for are people, and wondering who is most important to listen to. Now, that could be some obvious ones, like news media, for example, or industry groups and trade associations, or thought leaders in your particular realm. It could also be influential customers, like your biggest customers, your biggest suppliers, your biggest vendors. It could be people who are so enamored of what you do, like, say, if we are going to continue with finger puppets, say there's somebody who runs a finger puppet message board community, or an online, a Facebook group about finger puppets, where the most passionate people are gathering. These are people who are important to listen to, because they're going to tell you what is going on in their world, and what you need to pay attention to be able to serve your audience, your customers, better.
Yeah, it has never been easier to find the mavens of any bizarre niche industry, of any passion. You're talking about the social media influencers who have their own multi-100,000 or million person Twitter following, or there's a wonderful girl I follow, a young woman on Instagram named Yoga Girl. That's her handle, and she has almost 1 million followers on Instagram, and she's blogging, and so you get these key influencers who are just putting their heart and soul out there, sharing their why, willing to be transparent, and seeing how they engage with their communities, and what kind of questions they're being asked, and what kind of solutions they're offering.
The other thing to be listening for is keywords. What words and phrases are people using about to talk about things related to your why? And so this may not be the keywords that you think that you should be, say, optimizing for if you're making sure that you're using, if you're using finger puppets as part of your SEO plan. Sure, that may be a phrase that that your audience is using to search for you, but there may be others. And once you start listening to the conversations that people are having about your business or organization, you're going to start picking up on keywords and phrases that people are using to talk about you, to talk about your products and services that you did not necessarily know were being used to talk about you. And so that gets integrated into what you listen for. And the places that you listen for these things are changing and expanding. So we have examples here of a couple of businesses that are being talked about, or their industry is being talked about in interesting ways and unlikely places. On the first side, on the left-hand side, we have cider. And this is a screenshot from Instagram. People who are using hashtags on posts, on picture posts about cider. We have 801,000 photos that are being tagged with cider. Did you know that that many people are talking about cider and cider-related things
Well, I
on
think
Instagram?
it's important to frame this a little bit, Alan.
Oh,
Like,
okay, all right.
Just
Fair enough.
We're not just looking. We're not curious about cider. There
Randomly,
was a
right.
Vermont business named Cider Hollow.
Cold Hollow Cider Mill.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Cold Hollow Cider Mill.
Yeah.
Cold Hollow Cider Mill, and they were wondering if people really were on Instagram, if it was going to be worth their time, and we were able to instantaneously show them, hey, look at, there's a whole global conversation happening around cider and the derivatives of cider that people are voluntarily associating themselves with. So imagine if they become the brand that is paying attention, that is liking these 800,000 posts, or even just, what if they specialize in the cider donuts people? You know,
Right.
you could knock that off in a week. You could be omnipresent in every one of those people's posts. Work up your followers, show that you are listening, showing that you care, and hopefully, as this particular business says, they are the second most popular destination, Vermont destination, right after Ben and Jerry's. So that's a lot of revenue potential when you are demonstrating, if they choose to demonstrate that they're a business that not only cares about cider during the fall season,
Right.
but is actively paying attention to conversations happening around the topic.
Exactly. And so the search on the right is from Twitter, and this was done because we had a participant in one of our workshops, the Littleton Coin Company up in Littleton, New Hampshire. They're a huge business. They're 300 employees. This is a big deal. And
they're a global business.
Yeah, exactly.
Run out from the great north woods of New Hampshire. So.
Exactly. And their demographic is say 55 and older, generally speaking, and they know they need to appeal to younger folks to keep the business going. And one of the things that they were not sure about is, well, are people using things like Twitter, for example? Like, their core demographic doesn't necessarily use it, but
or so they thought.
Exactly. We did a search for coins, people talking about coins, and we found out that every 5 minutes somebody is tweeting about something coin related on Twitter.
Out of this little screen grab, one of them is about Bitcoin, so that's not exactly relevant. But
Right.
in a half an hour, all these little conversations about people wanting to talk about or share about something about coin collecting. That's a lot of activity.
Absolutely,
Alan.
absolutely. So
They were shocked.
yes, they were. So 10 ways to listen, 10 places to listen, and ways to listen. These are some of our favorites. Hootsuite is the social media management dashboard where you can see a bunch of different social media platforms and streams and saved searches all at once, and it's free. There are paid levels as well, but that's one of our favorite go-tos. Facebook interest lists that you can create, and Twitter lists, of course. Number 4, Mention, and number 7, Social Mention. Those are actually two different services where they will send email alerts to you about mentions of something that you want to hear about on social media channels. One thing that we wanted to flag too was YouTube subscriptions, that it's a great way to listen to your audience, because YouTube doesn't really get considered as a social network, generally speaking. It's like you hear about, it's Facebook and then Twitter and then Instagram and then Pinterest in terms of like the biggest sizes. But if they considered YouTube, it would be the second largest social network in the world. And it's also the second largest what, Lonnie?
Search engine.
That's right. Congratulations, you got it right. More searches processed through YouTube than anywhere else with the exception of Google itself. And it has all the hallmarks of a social network. There's likes and comments and shares, and you subscribe to people just like you would follow people on Twitter or like people on Facebook. And with subscriptions, you can also you can email your subscribers. You can actually like send messages to your subscriber base, and you can't really do that en masse with.
So, Alan, what are you talking about with the listening then? Tie it back to the listening.
Okay, that's a good point. What your subscribers are doing on YouTube, I mean, they have their own conversations that they're having with their own audiences because they have their own channels and signups on there. They're posting their own videos, and they are also passionate about your industry, your products and services and what they're doing, and they're sharing in their own particular language on YouTube. YouTube is kind of its own animal in that way entirely. So looking at the subscribers of your YouTube channel and seeing what they're talking about is really important to the listening side of things.
But I would also say that if you have have a strategy around subscribing, subscribe to channels of your collaborators, your partners, and your competitors, and see what they're talking about. Most people aren't as willy-nilly about their video sharing their YouTube strategy as they are, let's say, about their posting on their Facebook page. They're a little bit more careful, more strategic. So, what are the videos that your competition is posting that's getting the most results? What are the conversations or the subject matter that's deemed most important to your community?
Right. Exactly.
A couple other ones I definitely want to flag here. I find great value in Twitter lists as a incredible listening tool. And if you don't know what those are just ways for you to bucket, to categorize the Twitter accounts according to your particular interest and need. And so you don't even have to follow people to put them on a list, and you can quickly and easily then peer at conversations and in and around different industries, subjects, ideas, communities. Very, very cool. And number 5, we mentioned hashtags as a way to listen. Wow, what incredible force hashtags are. And one of the tools that we use often is a free service website called Tagboard. And Tagboard curates content from Twitter, Facebook, Vine, and Instagram around one hashtag, so you can get a glimpse, a snapshot of the social conversation and kind of see a story, especially if you have an event, or this is a great place to kind of see what's being talked about and what kind of visuals are being shared, and for you to kind of develop your own response or activities around the content. Super cool. And Twilerts, I don't know what we would do without Twilerts, Alan.
Right, exactly. So,
want to say what Twilerts are?
Yeah. What happens is if you want to have search results for something on Twitter emailed to you on a regular basis as they happen or in digest form, you can go to twilert.com and set up, and they have free and paid versions of the service where, say, for example, AHA Summit, our annual conference, we have a Twilert set up for that. So anytime somebody tweets with that hashtag, we get an email notification about it. Google Alerts, of course, are also, that's the granddaddy of them all, I would say, especially when you go to news.google.com and you search anything related to your industry or to your business. At the bottom of that page of search results, you'll see create a news alert for this, so that way you can get notified when other people are talking about your business or about things happening in your industry. And then LinkedIn group digests. If you're a member of LinkedIn groups, and we do highly recommend that you do this, not just of your own industry, but particularly of your target audiences and what's going on there. We highly recommend making sure that you're getting group digest emails of things that people are talking about in LinkedIn that relate to your business.
Lots of listening options, Al. That's what I'm noticing.
Yes, indeed. So moving on to the second in our three-word mantra, let's learn.
You have to learn the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than anyone else.
Thank you, Einstein. This is one that you hear a lot of quotes from Einstein, but this one I had never heard until we started building this presentation.
Oh, it makes me wonder if it's one of those one of those fakies, but I'll take it.
Right. You can't trust everything you hear on the internet, said Abe Lincoln. So let the data do the teaching. One of the beautiful things about this day and age we're in is that the tools have these algorithms behind them, and the algorithms and the audiences themselves will tell you exactly what they like and don't like, and exactly what moves them to action. It's so easy and transparent these days.
Algorithms and audiences.
Audiences and algorithms. And here's what you're listening for that. Reach. How many people see what you put out there? And we'll use Facebook as an example because they kind of make this relatively transparent. When you're posting on your Facebook page, you'll get a little thing right below it where it'll say, so many people saw this post. And you know, maybe they did and maybe they didn't. Maybe it was served a little further down in their newsfeed and they actually didn't get all the way scrolled down there, but it gives you an idea, and it gives you an idea over time of how your posts are doing and how Facebook is evaluating them. Are they sharing them with more people than you're used to, or are they sharing them with less people? And part of that is determined by the other thing to be keeping an eye on, which is engagement. Who's taking action and what kind of action is it? There is sort of a pecking order inside Facebook for this. Sharing being sort of the number one thing, because when somebody shares your content, that's the ultimate stamp of approval. They think enough of it that they are sharing it with their own contacts and network on Facebook. After that, clicks come next, because ultimately you're just renting space on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. Like, it's not space you own. So you want to be driving people back to the spaces you own, like your website, like your blog, and being able to collect contact information there, because you can't get the same level of access to people on Facebook, especially not anymore since they keep messing with the newsfeed, that you have if you are able to get people's information, you know, directly and be able to use it as you can. And then after that, comments, because people are actually taking the time to say something to you, like you've actually moved them to start conversations with you or to engage with conversations. And then likes being, you know, not the worst, but certainly better than nothing, because it's always good to get a thumb on something, right?
I guess that's quotable.
Yeah.
It's always better to get a thumb on something.
Yeah, tweet that.
But yeah, so just to be clear, that pecking order thing, that literally Facebook weighs in that order according to what they give algorithm juice to.
Right.
And the algorithm juice is an absolute official term.
Yes. Very technical. The engineers are starting to use it. All right, so 10 ways that you can learn about the behavior of your audience. Google Analytics is probably one of the greatest ones for your website, and for also seeing how your social media channels are directing people into your website. And also seeing what kinds of keywords are being used to talk about your business. And even if you install a remarketing pixel on your website, you don't even have to pay for that from an advertising perspective. You can find out information about the demographics and psychographics about the audience that comes to your website. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term remarketing, if you've ever been to a website, say you went to Amazon.com and you looked at finger puppets.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
And yes, they're back. And then 2 days later, say you were on CNN's website, and over on the side there's an ad from Amazon about finger puppets, and you're like, well, how the heck did that show up there? That's remarketing, or retargeting as it's sometimes called. And Google allows you to do that. There are other places that do too. But you can use that to gather information about your audience and learn more about them and who they are and what they might like. Facebook Insights, their native analytics platform. Twitter Analytics, which you actually have to register for an advertising account with Twitter at ads.twitter.com in order to get access to the analytics. It's free to get the ads account, and you don't have to actually spend money on ads to be able to get access. You just have to set that up. LinkedIn company stats. YouTube has its own analytics, so you want to watch out for the number of video views, plus also the minutes watched and how how long people are staying through your videos. If they're dropping off early, then that's a bad thing, not just for your viewership, but also for how YouTube ranks you within their algorithm. And then Sprout Social and Meltwater Buzz are two platforms where Sprout has a free level, but is more primarily a paid service for learning about your audience and who they are and what they do. And the same thing goes with Meltwater Buzz, which was previously Jitter Jam and owned and operated here in New Hampshire, and then was recently bought by the Meltwater Group.
These two platforms are incredibly, shockingly powerful at the depths that they go to analyze user data and visitors and audience and communities. So that's really something more on a
next level kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Clout and Cred. And if you haven't heard of these two, they purport to measure social media influence on a scale of 1 to 100 based on proprietary algorithms and factors and whatnot. And these are kind of controversial. People get upset about about having an influence number applied to them sometimes, and they say, no, there's no way they can really measure influence, and there's all sorts of other intangible factors that they could never have access to or understand, and that's okay. And we don't necessarily use it for as the gospel of influence or anything like that, but it's certainly a great thumbnail to consider.
It's not that far off. I mean, you really get a sense of someone's, I guess, willingness to play with the tools of today, their ability to generate interest in their online communities,
their passion about the subject that they're tweeting about or posting about on LinkedIn or Facebooking.
And so people can continue to get angry about the fact that Clout and Cred
even exist.
But the truth is more and more companies are using these scores as seriously determining factors about whether they're hiring people, and not just in social media roles either, but in management and leadership. They want to see if you've taken the plunge, if you have your own interests, if you're generating your own news, if you're willing to participate in the global conversation, if you will.
If basically you've become your own brand and you have your own audience.
That's it. They're checking to see if you're becoming or you've become your own brand. And that it takes some hustle, it takes some vision, it takes some willingness to play. But you kind of got to do it because more HR professionals too are using these numbers as qualifiers for candidates at all levels.
Exactly.
And that practice is not going to lessen; it's only going to get more. I mean, they've already been combing over your social channels as a preview to the resume. In my personal opinion, is dead. So if you are sitting there niggling about your perfect resume, then there are thousands of people beyond you that have already launched websites and YouTube channels and have established inroads with their Twitter conversations. So get away from behind the paper and branch out.
And the last one in the list is through masterminding and communities. And as we mentioned earlier in the webinar, like right near the beginning, we've been working with Mari Smith in a masterminding format for a number of years, 5 years and more, I would say. And that has been essential to our growth. Mari is not the only person that we've been in masterminding programs with. We've done things that have been more business focused as well as things that are more social media focused.
We're in a community for podcasters with John Lee Dumas.
Exactly.
And you really do learn things faster and better. With Chris Brogan, we're in a community with Chris Brogan.
Right.
This inside community, you exchange questions and answers and ideas and learn tips and tools and tactics that are just not easily accessible in the generic Google search realm.
And not just from the people running the mastermind group, but for the people who are participating in the mastermind group. And that's what we found when we launched our own mastermind community, the AHA Tribe. And we decided to cover topics one at a time every month for all of the things that the business owner, the entrepreneur, the marketing professional, the mission-driven professional of today needs to concentrate on in their own business or organization, starting with marketing planning and going through all of the major platforms for social media, in addition to concepts like content marketing, for example, which is what the books all are and we'll be tackling in September.
Because that's the feedback we've kept hearing and we experience ourselves on a moment-by-moment basis, is the information is too much, and you really need to dedicate a little bit of time each month to each one if you even have a hope of staying competitive and being able to really use these tools and platforms 10% of their capacity, right? Like, I mean, these are powerful tools and platforms that are changing the way we do business in the world. So, you know, yes, it's a little bit hard to make them part of your schedule because you've got so many other things to do, but it's a necessity. It's a non-negotiable.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been in business now for 10 years and change, and we spend more on professional development than we do on advertising. And I think that's been one of the biggest keys to our success, is being able to invest in programs like the one that we're building with the AHA Tribe. But let's talk about the last part of our mantra, and that is connecting. And Mr. Zuckerberg here, either the angel or the demon of our age, talking about what they're trying to do with Facebook is just helping people connect and communicate more efficiently. And they certainly do that. In fact, like, their whole design mantra at Facebook is to not even have you thinking about Facebook. Their designers want you to be thinking about communicating with your friends and family. And it just happens that Facebook is the way you do it, but you're not even thinking about Facebook as you do it. Very zen.
Yes. Just like a good milk jug, you think about the milk and not the container.
Right, exactly. So, engaging with authenticity. It's consistent, it's human, it's empathetic. That's what's creating loyalty and engendering positive word of mouth and getting people to take action in this day and age. It's not casting down your missives from an ivory tower and not having two-way communications with your audience, whoever they may be. It is about being more open and transparent. In fact, radical transparency is a phrase that we hear used very often. It's something to achieve and aspire to.
And being human, like, honestly, can't say that enough.
Right.
To be human, the human relationships, the human connections. To not be an Autobot or an automatron? Is that how you say it?
Automaton?
Yes, that automaton. Like, it's like saying see an enemy.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So this particular slide could be one of the scarier ones in the presentation, because that humanity is also coupled right now with an
expectation.
Yes, and impatience, if you will. I mean, you remember how slow internet access used to be, and it's getting faster over time, and we're getting even more impatient about our websites loading and our apps loading, even though technology is getting better and better. And we saw this from Graham Chenoweth, who's the COO at Dyn. They're all about slow is the new downtime in terms of websites loading. And they say 1 second is the difference between a loyal customer and a lost one. Timing is definitely changing, and people are expecting their responses faster from you. And thankfully, we have all this technology to let you know when people are banging down your door on social media. And I think if you had so many requests to be contacted flooding in from social media, then that's probably a good thing, because that means people actually want to talk to your business, and it's worth investing that time to have somebody paying attention to that more often, I'd say. You would say that too, I assume.
I would say that too.
But if you need to set the expectation that you only answer things at certain times, then by all means, like, be transparent about that. Be human about that. I mean, if you're a one-person shop, heck, like, there's only so much you can do in a day, and let people know, hey, we're a one-person shop.
I always loved and have been very jealous about Tim Ferriss's bold autoresponder. A lot of for his email, where he said, "I check my email twice a day, and that's what I do." So he decided to. He has his rules, and if you want to get a hold of him, you must play by his rules instead of trying to cater to everyone else's expectation.
Right. Yeah. Set yourself up for success with this. The best way, hands down, to connect with people these days is by taking advantage of the visual web. What is the visual web, Lonnie?
Oh my goodness. The visual web is the way of the new world. It is why Instagram and Pinterest are killing it. It is why we're all getting tired at the onslaught of text. It is why it takes, this says 60,000 times. Visual data is processed 60,000 times faster by the brain than text is. So it is the way to literally communicate past a person's brain, right to the heart of the matter, right to their inner being that really does all the decision making.
Right.
Their sense of intuition, their sense, what is that saying? That you buy what is
You
that?
buy on emotion and you justify it afterward on logic.
Yes, you buy on emotion and justify it afterwards on logic. That has not changed. That's always been the case. And if you're trying to connect to a target audience of any kind, you have to do it visually. You have to pay attention to the fact that the best, most successful use of the tools of today are through communicating visually.
Now we're going to talk to you about 3 websites that, and Lonnie's already previewed 2 of them, that are mastering the visual web and how you can take advantage of this as well. For 13 months tracked by Shareaholic, which is a social sharing app that gets installed into websites and blogs and whatnot, they found that Pinterest is driving more referral traffic back to websites than the next 6 in line combined.
Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Google+, StumbleUpon, and Reddit combined. Pinterest is people are going to Pinterest, making their boards based on their interests, based on the interest graph.
Right.
And they are going beyond Pinterest to go deeper and rewarding the companies that are sharing these luscious images.
Right, and that have luscious images to be shared as well. And in fact, that rewarding it's double what you see, say, somebody coming from Facebook. The average order driven from Pinterest is twice as big as a sale driven from Facebook via Shopify, the social shopping plugin and platform.
So there's something about Pinterest that primes people to be in a shopping mode. I mean, they are collecting, they are dreaming, they are imagining themselves in travel destinations or making beautiful recipes for the next party, decorating their home, getting these wonderful outfits. Like, it is all motivated by them. And we just mentioned something about the interest graph, and I do think that's worth just flagging.
Yeah.
Where Facebook has been credited with mapping out the social graph, so mapping out the relationships among human beings, their cousins, their family members, their neighbors and communities, and imagine that all in an intricate web of socialization. Whereas Pinterest came along and is really getting a lot of the credit for mapping out the interest graph. So beyond a tribe mentality, beyond the social context of things, we as human beings all have distinct passions and interests that drive us, that move us to tears, that move us to laughter, that occupy our mind space, and they become hobbies and empires depending on the level of energy we put into them. And Pinterest is a way to kind of organize and find people according to these interests and find communities and brands that we're aligned with.
Exactly, and it becomes a bit of a feedback loop too, because as you discover these new people and new businesses through the interest graph, they make their way into your social graph as well.
And into your hearts, Alan.
Yes, even more
hearts,
importantly.
Plural? I don't know, into our hearts.
Into our hearts. And you may, in fact, be on Pinterest and not know it, as it turns out. Even if you don't have a Pinterest profile yet, check out this link, pinterest.com/yourwebsite.com. Insert your own website in there. And we did this for New Hampshire Business Review, which we double-checked and triple-checked and does not have their own Pinterest account. And yet, people are posting about our state's every other week produced business newspaper. They're posting images from the New Hampshire Business Review website on Pinterest.
So the more you can feed your website, whatever niche you serve, whatever business or industry you're in, the more you can showcase that through visual, always adding visuals with your blog posts, adding visuals on each of your pages. Really, the more you are going to optimize and boost your ability to connect with people meaningfully through Pinterest.
Exactly. All right, so here's the other one that Lonnie mentioned earlier, and that's Instagram. Instagram, I mean, it started out on mobile, and then Facebook bought it for like $1 billion because Facebook knew that they had to understand mobile better, and Instagram really, really gets it. They completely get it.
Instagram was born trying to serve the person standing there with their cell phone, with their mobile device.
Right, exactly. And
that's a different type of usability. That's a different type of mentality. The expectation is is just a fast and seamless. It's all about the user experience.
Right. And out of the 200 million plus users, 70% log on daily to Instagram, which is huge. It's huge. And 35 checking in multiple times daily. And when you couple that with, that fact about how like we check our smartphones like 150 times a day or something ridiculous like that.
You know what? That number sounds like it's bloated and impossible, and it is real. It's been verified on several different places that the average person these days checks their mobile device 150 times a day. Do your own little experiment, whether you're checking what time it is, or if someone called, or if someone sent you a text message, or going on Instagram, or checking your Facebook feed, or sending tweets. I mean, 150 times, that's a lot of dependence on a little machine that is happens to be more powerful in your pocket than has more power than Ronald Reagan had as the leader of the free world in the early 80s.
Yep.
I mean, that's insane.
Exactly. Crazy. This is the fastest growing of the top 10 mobile apps, too. It's only going to get bigger.
So, again, the reason we just wanted to reinforce the idea that I personally use Instagram more often than Google Analytics nowadays to get a quick, down and dirty thumbnail on certain keywords and phrases that real live people are using. Have some fun experimenting, doing some searches with hashtags on Instagram. They're so... You can see so much with so little. You can either just see the truth of what phrases are being used, keywords, searches, and then you can go over, for instance, on this visit at NH, you can see what images are showing up for you for certain hashtags and brands and ideas and corporate entities.
Yeah, and like them. Don't be afraid to participate or comment on them. Like, don't just be a lurker. I go play paintball every once in a while, and there's a place a few miles away from here called OSG Paintball. They have their own Instagram account, and when I've posted a couple of photos and tagged them with a paintball hashtag, I see them like those photos almost immediately, and that gives me a really great feeling. Like they're not just sitting there with a bunch of open space waiting for people to come shoot paintballs at each other. They actually love what they do, and they're listening to the people who love what they're doing at their paintball fields. That gives me a great feeling compared to other places I've been where I may post photos and it's never noticed or never cared. Like I like being seen. I think we all like to just be seen and be heard.
And Instagram is really doing what they can to find new ways to offer businesses advertising opportunities, seamless or not non-intrusive advertising, because they keep saying that the user experience is their top priority, and anything that seems stinky or gets in the way of that, they are not going to pursue. So just in terms of if you are a company looking to connect powerfully to your audience, in an authentic way, this might be an avenue worth exploring.
And it's killing it with social engagement too. And this is from the results of a study conducted by Forrester Research. They found that of the 7 social media platforms that they looked at, 3 million user interactions across 2,500 brand posts, that the engagement on Instagram was 58 times better per follower than on Facebook, and 120 times better than Twitter. So if you're also looking for engagement, in fact, the recently released Social Media Marketing Industry Report came out surveying about 3,000 marketing professionals, and the number one thing that people wanted to know in that report was how to create content that engages better with their audience. So if you're looking for that better engagement, if you hear that and say, yeah, that's me too, Instagram is really a place you want to be looking right now.
Serve it up, entertain, inform, empower in a visual way. I mean, look at that. If you did not fall out of your chair about the 58 times more engagement per follower than Facebook that Instagram is offering as an opportunity for you, then you were not listening.
All right, the last one we're going to share with you is Vine. And I love the analogy that you came up with about what Vine is for anybody who hasn't heard of it.
Oh, yes, if Twitter and YouTube had a baby, they would have had Vine.
Exactly. It's 6-second video, and it loops. So it has a way, and this was the other thing that I love that you said about Vine recently.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, is that it's like being able to get a meme inside somebody's head. You ever walk around with a song stuck in your head that you just can't get out of your head? That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Stuff that happens in loops on Vine kind of gets stuck in your head.
It becomes a mind virus. It really does. Our whole we have 2 boys, 11 and 6, and if any of us, sometimes we may watch our favorite Viners together, and no doubt that later in the day, one or all of us will be repeating any of the little hooks. And looping vines that we heard earlier, and they become, sources of entertainment. They make us laugh. They make us think. Sometimes they just drive us crazy, but it's very powerful if you take it from a business perspective about how you can, because 6 seconds still is not, it's not asking for much from me. Like, I will give a brand that I like 6 seconds of my time to see how they play. The other way that we've been explaining Vine that seems to help a lot is if you've seen the Harry Potter movies and you see how photographs in the Wizarding Worlds are presented, where you see Harry's parents waving back at them. It is a little moment, a little glimpse of a moment in action. And so when you're looking to make powerful connections, Vine gives you that chance. As opposed to, like, Instagram also has a video. They let you do 15-second videos. I tell you, because I like Instagram as photos, I get a little bit, I skip a lot of the 15 seconds feels long. In the Vine app, 6 seconds does not feel long, and it's really easy. The way that they have it in flow, it's really easy. And as this slide says here also, Vine integrates seamlessly with Twitter, and 9 tweets with a Vine link are sent every second of every day. So lest you think
that knocked me out of my chair.
It should. Well, I heard you. Well,
the first time I found it. I've gotten used to it now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's only going up. So while Vine adoption isn't huge, it's not huge.
Right.
Those brands that are using it and are patient and are putting, the engagement and the potential ahead of is everyone else on there? They're really, really succeeding.
Right.
I mean, Mashable has some great Vine content.
Lowe's and Ford Motor Company are making inroads on Vine.
And there are and Vine superstars are starting to emerge, which makes it really fun. And quite frankly, creatively, there's some of the most inspiring creatives I've ever seen are just killing it on Vine. And there's a guy named Rudy Mancuso, and he's got, last I checked, he was at 3 or 4 million followers or whatever, but he makes me snort out loud time and time again with his vines.
And what you can do in 6 seconds is pretty amazing.
In terms of storytelling, it's shocking. Yeah. So even just for an aesthetic, some people are just experimenting in such lovely ways. Some people are hacking the heck out of it and still doing well. Like that's what I do. I take some vines and throw them into a video. Throw them together in a video later, and I have like snippets of whole events. We just had a weekend event called the Live and Love Retreat. I was able to take about, I don't know, about a dozen vines and throw them in a soup of photos and little vine clips, and voila, it's like I can experience the whole weekend again and again in less than 4 minutes.
So As we come toward the end of our Listen, Learn, Connect Relationship Marketing on Fire webinar, we want to remind you of this mantra. This is what it's all about: listening, learning, and connecting with your audience. And what happens as a result of this is better results for you. It's a numbers game. It's always been a numbers game for business anyway. The bigger quality audience you have, the bigger quality customer base that you're going to have. So as you listen and learn and connect with your audience, you're going to be growing it with the right people. And when you grow that audience, you're also growing the audience of people who will potentially spend money with you too. As a result of that, you're also gaining authority, which Google is paying closer and closer attention to social signals, to social networking signals. Who is engaging on social media? Who is driving conversation on social media channels? And that is becoming something that will give you an advantage over your competition in Google search results, which are still kind of the be-all, end-all of search and being found for your stuff online, whether it is on social media or on your own website.
Excuse me.
Yeah. And authority also equals attention, because if you are the authoritative source on your brand, your business, your industry, then more and more people are going to be paying attention to you, which means more and more people are going to start getting involved in your conversations and engaging with you. And it starts that virtuous cycle all over again. More attention, bigger audience, bigger customer base, bigger authority, etc., ad infinitum.
How do you do it all, Alan?
Well, you start with what we've talked about here, relationship marketing. That's the foundation. And then from there, you build on it with content marketing, with the visual web. And it's not just Instagram and Vine and Pinterest out there. Facebook and LinkedIn, even understand the value of the visual web. And Facebook gives more credit to visual content in the news feed versus text-based content. And LinkedIn has come out and said that their own news feed is going to be more affected by what they call rich media, because of course they're going to come up with the stuffier name for it, it being LinkedIn. You get your message out there with content marketing, with visual material, new and creative ways, and find your audience where they love to spend their time. Not necessarily where you love to, but where they love to.
I like what Amy Porterfield just says. You want to entertain, you want to educate, or you want to empower with your content marketing. Mm-hmm. Joe Polizzi of the Content Marketing Institute is always saying that you want to provide value to the people who you are looking to engage with.
Right.
And that's what content marketing is. It's providing value to your ideal audience and knowing that they will thank you for it with their time, with their money, and with their loyalty.
So one last example of what you can do once you have your why. We love Paul Boynton, who is the CEO of the Moore Center in Manchester, New Hampshire. The Moore Center's organization's mission is to help adults with brain injuries and other mental disabilities be able to live meaningful lives and live on their own terms, not just having to be forced to deal with assistance from other organizations, but for their own respect and dignity, be able to live their own powerful lives. And he wrote a book a few years ago called Begin with Yes, and that was where what his big why was, wanting to start everything from a yes frame of mind, and how
and also just the Begin with Yes idea was just after The Secret, where sure, the law of attraction is important and it's powerful, but without the law of action, which is what Begin with Yes is, without the law of action, the law of attraction does not have the effectiveness that you need and want in life, whether you're going for big goals or you're just trying to maybe make a small change. Maybe you're in a really bad place in your life and you just need to kind of take one step forward towards something that looks and feels a little better for you. That's what Begin with Yes is about. So this was his why, that he wanted to help people wherever they are at to take that next little micro step that's going to move them in the right direction of anything from just improving their lives to living their dreams. And the way he did this is he started with a Facebook page, not knowing what he was doing. He posted 2 images a day with beautiful little
mantras or quotes or source.
Yeah, he wrote stuff straight from his heart, little messages to people at all levels, accompanied with these visuals. And now, in just a few short years, I mean, in this number it says 402,000 people around the world. Now I think it's at 450,000 people all around the world. So he's hit and this was like a week ago. So he's hit a tipping point in where he has an engaged, grateful community. They're buying more of his books, and more importantly, they are showing up every single day with like tens of thousands of people are liking and commenting and saying, "Gee, thank you so much for the insight, the inspiration. Thank you for help. You know, I really needed this. It's like you're in my mind. It's like you're in my heart." And so this one man is making a huge difference in hundreds of thousands of people's lives because he knows his why.
Mm-hmm. And we know our why too, and that is to help people like us, the entrepreneurs, the people who wanted to escape from corporate America, the people who are still, in corporate America and passionate about what they do, use these awesome, incredible new tools and platforms for the betterment of their lives, for the betterment of the lives of the customers they're serving, to help be a tide that lifts all boats. And that is what we set out to do in so many ways. And the Tribe is the latest way that we are doing this, with a monthly training webinars, with a basic webinar and an advanced webinar, with exclusive expert interviews on all the topic areas that we were talking about earlier in the webinar. The private mastermind community, though, that's really where that idea of being the tide that lifts all boats really, really comes into fruition. People collaborating on everything from Facebook ads to infographics to new blog launches to,
Yeah, businesses are being born and optimized. Websites are being launched. Communities are connecting. It's so exciting. Mm-hmm. And these are real, authentic, passionate people. I think, like Alan mm-hmm. said, passion is really the glue there. People who really, they want to lead however they can. They want to make the best of whatever role they have in their organization or whatever fire they have in their belly.
It's funny, when we first started our business, we went to SCORE for business counseling because it was the first business we'd ever started. And one of the things they asked us was, back in 2004, what's your target market? And our target market was passion, like people who are passionate about what they love.
They didn't like that answer very much.
No, they didn't.
It wasn't on the list of approved target market research mm-hmm. options. But the more we have just experimented and gone on this great biz growing adventure, that really is where people who are still in the game, scratches and all,
mm-hmm. And the tools and social media channels have evolved to be able to support exactly that, finding people who are passionate about what you do, what you love, sharing the same why as you do. And we would love to be able to help you with your why. Please check out ahatribe.com and see what's available there for you. We would love for you to be part of the community. Everything that's happened before in the Tribe, for marketing planning, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and all of that, all of it is on demand and available for you anytime you want it. And it'll be the same with everything that's about to be produced in the coming months too. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to this webinar, to watch the webinar. We truly appreciate it, and we're so grateful for your time and your attention and your expertise. If you feel like tweeting anything about that you heard in this webinar that really resonated with you or struck you, then by all means tweet it on and tweet Epiphanies Inc. Or Lonnie and Alan Voivod. Our user handles for Twitter are down in the bottom right-hand corner. We would love to hear from you.
And here's a tiny, just if you're looking at this webinar, like this screen. Here's a little snapshot of our little brand empire, our ever-growing brand empire. We are the founders of the AHA Summit, which will be it's the New Hampshire's largest social media marketing and success conference. It's happening at Southern New Hampshire University this year, 2014, November 13th. That's mm-hmm. a Thursday, so save the date on that.
For our 6th annual event.
It'll be exciting. We have the Tribe community, which we're very psyched about this year. It was a long time coming and something we've wanted to do for a while, so we finally launched that puppy. We also have a series called 31 Days of Possibility, where we have blog posts and YouTube videos around 31 really extraordinary topics that can change the power and might of your life, I would say. Is that too much to say?
I don't think it's too much to say at all.
If all you feel like doing today is taking a sticky note and jotting a positive message down and taking a picture, tag it with the My Joy Note hashtag, and we will share that on all of our Twitter channels. So Joy Notes are always wanted and appreciated, and we find a very simple and seamless way to spread a little joy in our lives and to share anything you have. And then we have our core foundation, Epiphanies Inc., which we show up all the time hoping to help you aha yourself, which is take your boldest insight and move it forward with joy-filled action for a beautiful, exciting, adventurous life and business.
So thank you again, and thank you, beautifully said.
Funny. Okay. Yeah, can you tell we're a spousalpreneur team here?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, thanks so much for listening, and you go do great things, and we're here if you need us.
That was Lonnie Voivod. I'm Alan Voivod. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.